The Phase 4 changes nerfed several classes to the ground to the point that people are testing warriors that are doing half the damage of every caster. But that doesn't mean that the buffs make any sense either, because they don't. So let's take a look at the stupidest how did this make it into the game. It's gonna need a hotfix as soon as it comes out day one because it is so broken. Classes. First category is gonna be the two specs that show Agrend cannot learn from his mistakes in Phase 1. One of that is gonna be the Shadow Priest. As you guys know, the Shadow Priest got Vampiric Touch. That's an ability from TBC. I called it, by the way. I said this was gonna happen. I mean, it's not that I am Nostradamus or something. Everybody could see this one coming a mile away. But anyway, in this case it is smaller because instead of the 5% we got in TBC, it is gonna be 2%. Now, don't be fooled by that. The utility that they get is very nice because every caster that wants to get a 99 parse is gonna want one of those guys in their party, perhaps even more. Now, the thing that is gonna make them busted, aside from making them mandatory, is that Blizzard did the same oopsie they did in Phase 1, okay? The reason the Priest had this thing in TBC is because in TBC, the Shadow Priest had no AoE. No matter how good you were as a Priest, you could only generate so much mana. But now the Priest has a very overtuned AoE. The Void Zone is so good that even healer Priests are taking it. So 2% damage doesn't sound like a lot when you're doing 1000 DPS, that is what, 20 mana? But now say that you're hitting 4 or 5 mobs. All of a sudden, that is 100 mana per second. In 12 seconds, you can generate enough mana to be the same as a mana potion. That's insane. So no, the Shadow Priest is not gonna be overpowered at bosses. I don't think this is gonna be out of whack for the bosses in particular, except maybe Gar, because you can hit many mobs at once. Maybe that you can make it a big cheese. Keep in mind, we also have Shamanistic Rage in the game, and even though it got nerfed, they got like a net nerf on their mana generation. Both of these things together may make it so a couple classes, for example, my candidate here is gonna be the Arcane Mage. This may make it so the Arcane Mage will become very good if they get enough mana. But if you think about it, the reason that I think this is a big deal is because of trash. If you do 1 or 2 packs every time, okay, you drop a Void Zone on top of 10 mobs and you generate pretty much infinite mana for the healers, I think every speedrunner and their mom is gonna want a Shadow Priest in the raid. Because even if you're in a speedrun and you are doing big pulls and you're very constrained on mana, healers with a Shadow Priest are gonna be able to crank it out like a 12-year-old boy when their parents leave the house. I wouldn't be shocked if Molten Core speedruns do 3 or even 4 Shadow Priests for this very reason. Their damage is pretty good too anyway. The Holy Paladin with Consecration is in the same boat as the Shadow Priest, same mistake again. In case you didn't hear this, the Consecration of the Holy Paladin is gonna do double the damage it does as healing for anybody standing on top of it. You don't need to be a genius to figure out how stupid this is, okay? Without taking into account spell power, Consecration is 48 damage per second. So Consecration is gonna be 96 heal per second on anybody that is standing on top of the Consecration. You may think that's not that big a deal, but think about it a little more. We're gonna do a little example with math here. Let's say I drop a Consecration and I am hitting 5 enemies. That is gonna be 5 times the amount. That is gonna be 480 heal per second. But if we have 5 party members standing on that very same Consecration, that is 5 times again too, because we're healing 5 people. So that is 96 times 5 times 5. That is 2400 healing per second that you're gonna be doing with this thing. That's stupid. Not to mention that Consecration is not a casted spell. Consecration, you drop it instantly and you can go back to healing. So this is not that you're gonna do 2500 HPS. This means that you're gonna be doing 2400 HPS plus your healing. I would be shocked if Blizzard didn't nerf this to the ground. Even if they didn't multiply off the mobs you're hitting, right? Even if it was just a normal AoE heal and it did 96 heal per second to every target, this would still be super busted. Maybe a little mana inefficient, sure, but it would still be a lot of output. I mean, there could be even like a bit of a synergy within the Paladin and the Priest, because You stack all the mobs on one place, you put all the melees in that place, you put the Void Zone and the Consecration on top, and they get a bunch of mana to do consecrations and heals, and everybody's getting free heals. We might even see Prot Paladins taking this rune to solo all dungeons for gold, because they will probably be able to heal faster than they get hit with this thing. But now, if you think that having one priest broken is bad, how about 2? I hope you loved the Rato the Lich King healing meta. Oh, you don't? You think it was the most stupid healing meta you have ever seen, and Rato the Lich King suffered all the entire expansion because of it? Oh, I mean, that's too bad, because we got the same Rato the Lich King shield spamming Discipline Priest again, and they are gonna destroy the healing meta for good. Every other healer is gonna hate every single second of the life now that we got this, okay? Basically, Soul Warding is a new rune that is going to make it so Power Ward Shield has no effective cooldown. A reduced mana cost on top of that, and it's also going to do double the amount. So that's right, the best shield in the game, an ability that was already very, very strong, is now twice as strong and cheaper. Yes, of course, there is still Weakened Soul, 15-second debuff, so you cannot spam the same shield on the same target over and over. That's a thing. But nothing is stopping you from spamming shield after shield after shield to everybody in the raid. As a matter of fact, hell, even if it's only the tank that is taking the shield, this is a double the amount shield, and it is a lot cheaper, so you're increasing the effective HP pool of the tank by a lot anyway. This is not a bad idea, even if you're doing tank healing. This is extremely annoying for other healers, because if sniping heals is annoying enough, how about you snipe heals before damage even happens? This is gonna be super toxic, and I think every single raid is gonna want one of these priests, because running 2 priests would be stupid, of course, because they are gonna put a Weakened Soul on everybody, so they are not gonna be able to stack them both at the same time. But I think one priest for this shield rune is gonna be mandatory. They are just insane. Another spec that is getting a massive boost is gonna be the Resto Shaman, because of the new Chain Heal rune. And keep in mind, guys, that Chain Heal was already the most mana efficient heal in the game. Resto Shamans are gonna get a new rune that is gonna make it so Chain Heal only loses 35% of its healing every time it bumps instead of 50%. Now that on its own, it means a 18% increase in actual healing output, because every little bump is gonna heal a little more, but that's not it though, because it is also going to hit another target. Keeping the same loss of 35%, that means that Chain Heal is gonna heal 33% more than it used to, for the same mana cost. So this means that the most mana efficient heal in the game got 33% more efficient. Finally, I would like to talk about the tanks for a minute here. There is not big changes, there is nothing that is absolutely crazy for tanks that I could see. I mean, the bear is getting Swipe, like Swipe is gonna hit 6 targets now, so they get a decent AoE. Sadly, the bear has terrible mitigation in AoE, so I don't think they are going to be the preferred tank for AoE anyway, but that's a good change, I guess. First of all, Warlocks are going to get a new ability that is going to make it so their armor reduction on physical damage is going to turn into magical reduction too. So in the fights in Molten Core where there is a lot of fire damage, we're talking like Baron Geddon, they are gonna become a lot tankier, and that's pretty good. On the other side, you got Protection Warriors, and yes, I know, they took our damage away. Listen for a minute. Protection Warriors were only using 1 rune for extra % damage, and that was Flagellation. And yes, it sucks, we're missing 25% damage, but the new Flagellation is still good. We're gonna take a lot more rage every time we take damage, so that should more or less offset it in the threat. Of course, our damage is gonna be lower even if we get infinite rage, but our threat is gonna be amazing, because we're gonna basically be able to spam Heroic Strike over and over and over and over again. Besides, the Prot Warriors were not relying on damage for their threat, okay? Most of their threat was from Vigilance, because Vigilance is 10% of the threat you take from the biggest DPSer in your raid, and you multiply it by like 15%, I forgot the number, but it is like 15% of the best DPSer in your raid. That threat turns into your threat effectively, so you scale off the best class in the game. Whoever is the stupidest class, you scale off of them, so you're never gonna be that bad. And of course, on their armor and the default threat it generates, Shield Slam has a flat amount of threat, So all those things are gonna scale very well for you regardless of your damage. But what they are getting first of all is a very nice AoE called Shockwave. It's a stun too, so they are not useless in trash anymore. And Battle Shout is gonna be free, it's not gonna cost rage anymore, so we got a free threat generation. That could be a good filler when you got 0 rage, but also on top of that, in AoE, you know, between Shockwave and between Thunderclap, you can do Battle Shout with no rage cost, and you can just Battle Shout and clip for AoE, and that's gonna increase your threat a lot. The most important change, however, is that Shield Wall and Retaliation are now only a 5-minute cooldown. So that's right, you don't need a 30-minute break every time you wipe anymore, guys. So you're gonna be able to do this every single pull. In some cases, you might be able to do 2 shield walls in the same fight. We're talking 75% damage reduction, the best in the game. But this will also be very good for speedrunners and for AoE because you can do a big trash pull, you can pop Retaliation, and all of a sudden you're gonna get infinite rage and a gachillion damage, so there is no way to lose it. And it's not gonna be stupid anymore because in 5 minutes you can do something else. So once again, I think warriors are gonna become very good tanks. I am kinda excited for it, and it's nice for a change to be excited about something about the warrior, because DPS warriors are missing half of their damage. So yeah, I mean, it's nice. Can we get our damage back though? Subscribe, leave a like, join the Discord, and thank you for watching!